Welcome back to ArmanisMath. This is lecture number 10. We are going to be talking about the law of cosine. And we've got good examples coming up for you. So get ready, get your notebook ready, and let's get started. First thing is the warm-up. It says find the area of a triangle with a given base and height. So basically I've got a base of 10 and a height of 8. You could pause the video here, take about a couple minutes, and then come back to it, okay? But I'm going to get started with it. So I'm going to say I have area is 1/2 base times height. And this is 1/2. My base is 10. My height is 8. I would simplify before I multiply, so the 2 becomes a 5. 5 times 8 is 40. So area for this triangle is 40, which is 40. If there's no unit given, then it's unit squared. Okay, that's for number 1. Number 2, in triangle ABC, measure of angle A is 132, measure of angle B is 18. What is the measure of angle C? So this is not drawn to scale, I'm just thinking it out loud. So probably this is the 132, since it's the longest side facing the largest angle. And if this is A, let's see, perhaps this is B. And this is C. If this is 18, we know that the triangle has a total sum of 180 degrees inside of it, at least Euclidean triangle. So we've got basically, you could just name angle C as C. So C plus 132 plus 18 equals 180. And you just do a simple arithmetic calculation here, and you'll end up with angle C is equivalent to, let's put that in green, angle C, or measure of angle C, will give you 30 degrees. All right, that's the warm-up. Move on to the next one. Objective is today we're going to focus on the law of cosines. You'll be able to use the law of cosine to find the side length and the angle measures of a triangle. Where is this used in real life? Well, one of the usages is the surveyors or the survey engineers use the law of cosine extensively to find the missing sides. Can you think of another example? Well, if you can, please put that in the comments in the video. I would probably just Google this and find out some other example of real life. Last lecture we talked about the law of sine, and the law of sine has its usage. The law of sine is used when you have an angle side, and there's an ambiguous case which is side. The law of cosine, however, is not. The law of cosine does not concern with these cases, but it does concern with 2 cases here, which is the first one is side angle side, and the second one is side, of which we're going to take an example of each in this lecture. So stay tuned. Here is the law of cosine. Law of cosine is actually driven from the Pythagorean theorem. I'm not going to drive it here in this lecture, but if you have a desire for that, you could comment below the video and tell me if you have a desire. We could just make a video just for that. But what was given here is the law of cosine ready for us after it was developed through the Pythagorean theorem, using the Pythagorean theorem and a couple other things. So basically what you see in the law of cosine is 3 different iterations. Iteration number 1, iteration number 2, and iteration number 3. And if I were to sum this up, basically what they're saying is you have the Pythagorean theorem, if you could look here closely. minus 2, and then the numbers, the side are repeated. For example, let's start with this one. If I have a squared, by the way, if you guys remember from last lecture, the uppercase is used for the angles, lowercase letters are used for the sides. So this is side a squared equals b squared, side b squared plus side c squared minus 2, and then these two are repeated. If you paid close attention, these two are repeated. This one and this one is repeated here. BC. And then you're going to go back to cosine, the angle between them, which is exactly what you started with, by the way. Interesting. You started with A. That's what you're going to end up with, cosine A. All right? So keep that in mind. And that pattern actually keeps repeating for the law of cosine. This pattern keeps repeating itself. So the three iterations again for the law of cosine, you start with the side, and then you add the side squared, obviously, and then you add the equals the two other sides squared minus 2 of the same sides after the equal sign, and then cosine of the angle that you started with, or cosine the angle between the two sides. Right? And three different iterations, as you could tell, are here to serve our needs. All right. So let's start with the first one. First one says, use the given measurements to solve the triangle ABC. Round to the nearest tenth. And you need a calculator for this one. I believe you do, because there are some decimals and things like that. So first thing first is I probably have to make a mental picture of this. This might not be correct, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to picture what's given. So I have two sides given here, and perhaps I have this side like here, and that one, and maybe something like that. Okay? And the longest is A, so A equals 8. The next one down is B, so probably here B equals 5. And C is what I'm looking for. Side C is what I'm looking for. Okay, they give me a measure of angle C, so now I need to label my things. So A, lowercase a, is opposite of angle A. B is opposite of B, and C, obviously, little c is opposite of angle C. So now this angle is 32.2. A little bit awkward. We're not used to decimals, but that's, hey, no problem with that. So anyways, the first one is, first step is to find the length of the third side. First step is to find the length of the third side. So I'm going to go here and find the length of, that's too crowded here, excuse me, that's find the length of the third side, which is side C in this case. So if that's what you want to find, you probably want to start the law of cosine using whatever you're looking for, which is C. So I'm going to start by saying C squared equals the other two sides, A squared plus B squared. If you guys remember, it's minus 2, and then you have to repeat these two guys again. These two guys are repeated, this one and this one. So you basically are repeating these, saying that you have an A and a B, and cosine the angle between them. Cosine the angle between A and B is C, or whatever you started with. So whatever you started with, or cosine the angle, this one, or cosine the angle between them. It's up to you. Both should help you reach there. Cosine of C. Okay, let's get started with some numbers. I'm a big fan of arranging things first before I just hack in the calculator and start punching numbers. So meaning this one is already done for me. I don't have to remove the C's to the other side or the B's. I just have to leave it the way it is. But if you need to do that before you start calculating, it's easier. Just manipulate these here. Like if you're looking for A, for example, or if you're looking for cosine, make sure that you shift things around to get you exactly what you need before you start plugging in the numbers. There's nothing wrong with plugging numbers. I'm just saying it's just a little bit easier. So, anyways, back to here. I'm gonna just plug in some numbers, and let's start with C squared, well, that's what you're looking for. I don't have that. A, well, I have A is 8. What's B? B is 5 squared minus 2 times 8 times 5. Cosine the angle between them, or cosine the 32.2. Once you plug this into the calculator, it's going to be not too friendly. Some calculators are smart enough to understand this whole thing, this whole string in one shot. Some don't. So you probably want to start maybe with this first. I'm sorry. Let's go back here and erase that thing. Maybe with this side first, which is the cosine. Maybe you want to find this first, and then multiply it by these, and then subtract it from this here. It just depends on the calculator. Some calculators are smart enough. Others, you just have to go one step at a time. It's not a big deal. Just be patient. Once you get there, once you get there, you will find yourself looking at a C squared. C squared is going to be, back to this color, C squared is actually going to be 21.3. And obviously that's not what you're looking for. You're looking just for C, not C squared. So C by itself will be the square root of that, which is going to give you approximately, and that's the tilde here, 4.6. 4.6, whatever the measurement is, centimeters, kilometers, whatever the unit is. Okay? So that's how you do it. So here it is written in a nice typed format for you. You use the law of cosine, you substitute, use the calculator to simplify, and then don't forget to take the square root of the C squared to give you the C. All right. The second thing is to find the measure of the smaller angle. It doesn't really have to be that one, but it's just optional. Because when you say the word solve a triangle, you are looking for, if you say the word solve triangle, you're looking for 3 sides and 3 angles. That's how you solve a triangle. 3 sides have to be found and 3 angles have to be found. Well, obviously they give you some stuff. So now we're gonna have to go to the B. Find the measure of side of the angle B. Okay, and we do that by using the law of sine. I thought we forgot about that. No, we didn't. You actually use the law of sine here. So sine B divided by little b equals sine C divided by little c. If you're in doubt about this law, please review my last lecture, the law of sine. Okay, and basically we just have to substitute here. Sine B is what you're looking for. You're looking for angle B, by the way. Divided by 5 equals sine 32.2 divided by 4.6. Okay, and you cross multiply. So I could cross multiply. And when you cross multiply, you will end up with sine B equals 5 times sine. Sometimes I put this for sine, these little dashes, so I would not confuse it with 5. 32.2. That's an awkward angle. Divided by, I've got 4.6. Okay, and obviously it depends on calculator again. Some calculators would do this in one shot. If you actually going to use a calculator that does everything, I would highly recommend that you put parentheses around things, particularly around the numerator and then the denominator. Okay, so put that and then divide it by this amount here, and that should give you an amount. And let's actually do it together here. I am looking at 5 times sine 32.2. Okay, that is divided by 4.6, which is going to give me point that, and I would do the inverse sine of that amount. And I am looking for this. So the amount that you're going to get here when you I just did it in the calculator with you. This one is going to be sine B equals to this amount here. I've got 0.579. That's probably enough. Five significant digits. It's probably enough. Let's see this guy. Let me just fix that a little bit. So it's 0.579. This is not your angle. This is the sine of the angle, meaning this is the value. It's not the angle. For example, if you say cosine, if I'd say, for example, sine 30 is 1/2. Okay, so this is the amount that they gave you, not the angle. So how do you get the angle? Well, again, if you go back a couple lessons ago, you would find that you use the inverse. So now after you get this, you're gonna go up here. Oh wow, that's awkward. Okay, you're gonna go up here. Hopefully this is gonna be nicer, smoother. And then you're gonna use the inverse. So basically you're gonna say sine inverse of this amount, 0.579. And when you punch this in with the inverse, you will end up with angle. That's the measure of angle B. Will actually give you a 35.4. If this is not what you end up with, I would highly recommend that you look, by the way, this is approximate, right? You approximate. When you use calculator, you approximate. It's not exactly, you approximate. Sine B is 35.4. If this is not what you got, I would probably check also the calculator mode. Make sure that you're not in radian, you're in degrees mode. All right, here it is in, here was that in nice and complete. Okay, the last one is, actually to find the measure of the third angle. Well, basically, I have angle A. I'm sorry, I don't have angle A. I'm looking for angle A. I have this angle here. This was a B, that one we just found. And this was the angle C. And now I have that almost, because we have approximation here. But all of them should total to 180. If you just did the simple subtraction, you will end up with angle A is this much here. Okay? Just use simple calculations for arithmetic for that. That was example number 1. Okay. Example number 2, and this one is a little bit unique because this one is going to give us the ability to find, to solve means find 3 angles, again, 3 angles and 3 sides. This one, however, has a side given. You have a side and another side given. No angle given. So how do you do it? Well, the law of cosine would help you with that. So let's get started with that. The law of cosine should help me with that. And if I looked closely at the law of cosine, I have basically a side with 8, a side with 9, and a side with 7. So I will have to think about the law of cosine. If I want to find a measure of, obviously, one angle here, so perhaps I'm going to start with angle B, just because. There's no reason really. So if I want to start with angle, so find angle E, measure angle B, and I find that by using the law of cosine. So here's a B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2. Come on, somebody tell me what exactly I'm going to put here. 2 here. Remember, these two things are repeated. So AC cosine the angle between them, which is angle B. All right. If you want to find angle B, right, which is exactly what we need, then it's up to you. But I would probably shift things around here to make this side stand out by itself. So if this is what you're looking for, then I wanted this to be by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay, it's not a big deal. I'm just saying this is a little bit easier. Okay, so if I want to do that, then in this case, I'm gonna actually go and first of all, I'm gonna subtract these. So this will be b squared minus a squared minus c squared equals minus 2ac divided times cosine b. If you still want to isolate cosine b, then you have to divide both sides by negative 2ac. Negative 2ac. This method, this approach, you don't have to do it that way. All what I'm saying is clean things up a little bit before you start plugging numbers. But just this is just, I found this a little bit easier for students. Cosine b is actually going to be this amount here. So b squared minus a squared minus c squared divided by minus 2ac. Be careful with the negative signs. Don't forget these, because these will definitely change your answer. Okay, if that's what we got, then I actually have some values when you plug the numbers in. So basically, you will end up with, let's see here, if I want to put the numbers, b is 9 squared minus a is 8 squared minus c is 7 squared divided by, I've got negative 2a is 9, and the c is 7. Okay, and once you get that, you will end up with an interesting number, which is a 0.0287. Remember, this is not the angle. This is the value of the angle. So basically what you need to do here is, I would come over all the way up here, and I'll put cosine inverse of this amount of 0.287. And if you put that carefully in your calculator, you will find out that cosine, that B, measure of angle B will actually be almost close to 73.4. Okay, degrees, 73.4. Okay, that's how you do this one over here. Here it is done in a nice and printed for you. Okay, the second step would be to find the other angle. Well, believe it or not, you really have to do the law of cosine again to find the other angle. So let's do the law of cosine, and perhaps this time we're going to find angle C. Find and measure of angle C. Remember, the first time we did angle B, now we're going to do angle C. So perhaps starting with C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus, repeat these two, 2AB cosine the angle between them, which is cosine C. And again, I'm just going to shuffle things around. If you want C, then shuffle things around, and that should give you c squared minus a squared minus b squared equals negative 2ab cosine c, and I would divide by negative 2ab both sides. So now I have cosine c on one side, which is what I want before I just plug in numbers and rush and plug in numbers. It's easier that way, if that's what you like. B squared, and basically I will end up with a number that looks like, let's just plug in the numbers first. So if you guys remember the C, I should say, the C squared was the 7 squared, so 7 squared minus 7. This is a 7 squared. Minus 8 squared minus 9 squared divided by, I have a negative, and then I have 8 and 9. 8, I should say 289. Negative 289. Negative 289. 2 times 8 times 9. and that should give you approximately 0.667. By the way, remember this, you're going to end up with a negative at the top, and there's a negative at the bottom. So that's why you will end up with a positive value here. This is positive. This guy is positive. Now, when you do that, and you do obviously the inverse of that amount, so you're going to come over here, and like what we've done the other time, you will have to do the inverse. So cosine C inverse, inverse cosine of C of this amount is 0.667. That should give you a measure of angle B. Measure of angle B that is about 48.2. Measure of angle B is about 48.2. Okay, measure of angle B is about 48.2. Okay, don't forget that inverse. And also, if this is not what you got, then I would check the mode in your calculator. Make sure it's in degrees, not radians. Okay, here we go. Nice and neat. 48.2. Last piece would be actually find the third angle. Well, that's the easiest, right? Because you just have to add up things. So I'm going to have, I will have find third angle, which is angle A in this case. Find a measure of angle A. Well, you just have to add them up. So I'm going to say measure, or just A maybe, measure of angle A, measure of angle A, plus the 73.4 plus the 48.2 equals or adds up to 180, approximately that, right? Because you use a calculator. And once you do the simple arithmetic, measure of angle A would actually be almost 58.4 degrees. Okay, that's how we do that one. So we talked about two things. We talked about the law of cosine, and we talked about the law of cosine when you're given the law of cosine when you are given basically a side angle, and we'll also talked about the law of cosine when you are given side. This is different from obviously the law of sine, which has a different sequence of given things, as we've talked about. The law of sine is used for something else. It's used for AAS and ASA and the ambiguous case SSA, which definitely we did not talk about today. So we focused on the law of cosine today. Two cases, a SAS, side angle side, and the second case was SSS, side. Okay. Here's a quiz for yourself. I would not look at the answers yet. Give this about just a pause here, and for you to actually work it out and test yourself. Okay. Answers are here. All right, we're at the end of the lesson, and this is the 1 minute of hope with Armani. Well, I just want to encourage all of you, whatever you're going through right now, there's always hope. And we don't look for hope horizontally. Actually, we look for hope vertically, looking up. I lift my eyes up where my help comes from, says the Bible. So let's all look up and seek God's face and seek His mercies during these rough days that we're going through and pandemic. Okay, so take care of yourselves. Okay, you guys are awesome. Bye.